I stared at my phone, my fingers trembling. Not from age or frailty, but from something heavier and sharper. For missed calls from Samuel Redmond, my attorney of nearly 15 years. The voicemail icon blinked like a warning beacon, almost pulsing with urgency. I felt my chest tighten as if the phone itself were a warning light flashing before an imminent storm. The thought of it made my stomach twist in knots I hadn't felt in decades. Then, as I watched, another message appeared. Short, urgent, unmistakably serious. Harold, call me immediately. And do not go to Clara's house. I mean it. My hands dropped from the phone. For a moment, I simply stood there, frozen, code in hand, keys already in my palm. I had been seconds away from heading to Maple Ridge for Sunday dinner, the weekly ritual I'd clung to as the last thread of family I thought I still had. Clara had insisted all week, her messages soft and persistent. Dad, please. Liam misses you. I'm making your favorite roast. Just come. Sounded kind. Familiar. Real. The words wrapped around my chest like a warm scarf, reminding me of birthdays past, quiet evenings on the couch, her laughter bouncing in the kitchen. But Samuel's message cut through that warmth like a winter wind slamming open a door. I slowly set the keys down. The house suddenly felt too quiet, too still. The late afternoon sun fell in warm angled beams through the curtains, dust drifting like old memories suspended midair. I looked at the familiar furniture, Margaret's choices 30 years ago, and felt a pang of longing. The brown leather sofa, worn at the edges, bore the weight of decades of laughter, argument, comfort, and grief. Margaret had known it would last, had known everything before I did. If she were still alive, she would have seen this long before I did. I sank into the sofa, phone resting on my knee. My mind raced. What could possibly be so urgent? Nothing in my world had seemed amiss. My finances were intact, my health stable, my mind clear. And yet, Samuel's tone in those missed calls and that short, insistent message suggested otherwise. I dialed his number. He answered on the first ring. Harold, he said, voice urgent but controlled. Are you home? Are you alone? Yes, I replied, voice shaking slightly. Good. Lock your doors. Don't go anywhere. I'm on my way. He hung up before I could ask a single question. My fingers trembled as I walked to the front door, locking each one with deliberate precision. Not because I feared danger, though a part of me did, but because something deeper told me I should. Something primal, like the gut instinct of survival that lingers long after youth. 20 minutes later, Samuel arrived. He carried a thick manila folder that looked innocuous but felt like a brick of dread in his hands. He sat across from me at the dining table, placing the folder gently in front of him, as though it were a bomb he hoped would not detonate in my lap. His expression was the same he wore when he had to tell me Margaret wouldn't make it. Heavy, human, unavoidable. He opened the folder slowly, deliberately, each movement magnifying the suspense that had tightened my chest into a knot. 3 days ago, he said, finally breaking the silence, Clara and Victor filed a petition with the court. I swallowed. A petition for what? He looked me straight in the eyes, the gravity in his gaze making me feel like a child being told something I couldn't yet understand. To have you declared legally mentally incompetent. They want full guardianship. The words hit like a physical blow. I felt the air leave my lungs. My hands shook again, not with fear this time, but with disbelief. That means control of your finances, property, medical decisions, everything, he said, sliding the financial documents across the table. My estate, my savings, my pension. The house Margaret and I had paid off one stubborn payment at a time. Total value, just over $5 million. Then he slid another set of documents toward me. Clara and Victor's debts. Overdrawn accounts, failed investments, credit cards at their limits, mortgage payments overdue. A drowning couple, desperately reaching for something to hold on to, and seeing my life as their lifeline. They're desperate, Samuel said softly, controlled but disgusted. And they see your estate as their rescue. My heart tightened, not sharp, just slow and breaking. I stared at the papers, the numbers blurring into abstract shapes, The words, overdue, failure, maxed out, sinking into me like cold stones. And the evidence? I whispered. Samuel's face was tight, his teeth just barely visible behind lips pressed in anger and restraint. A photo of you taking too long in a grocery aisle. I blinked. I was remembering the cereal Margaret used to buy. I know, he said quietly. A note from your doctor during the flu, saying you were disoriented due to dehydration. I know, I said again. A recording of you trying to recall your new phone number after the carrier changed it. I know. They had twisted normal human moments into accusations. My own daughter, I whispered. Samuel's voice softened. This happens more often than people think. I leaned back in the chair, exhaling slowly, trying to gather composure I didn't entirely feel. What happens if they win? You lose your independence. They can move you to a care home, sell your house, empty your accounts. The life Margaret and I had built, the love I had preserved, gone. No, I said, quiet, measured, yet absolute. We fight. Samuel nodded. Then understand, your relationship with Clara will not survive this. I closed my eyes and let the memories wash over me. Clara at 6, making daisy crowns. At 13, sobbing over heartbreak. At 24, asking me to walk her down the aisle. I had loved her fiercely, unconditionally, and now she was poised to betray that trust in pursuit of money. I opened my eyes. She ended our relationship when she chose money over family. Samuel nodded once. Then we begin. The next week became a blur of meticulous documentation, every action, every decision recorded. I kept a precise daily log. When I cooked, when I drove, when I managed errands. I captured video recordings of myself performing routine tasks, paying bills, checking the mail, cooking dinner, even reading the newspaper aloud to establish cognitive clarity. I submitted to a neutral cognitive evaluation with a neurologist. The results were clear, sharp, lucid, unimpaired. I could almost hear Margaret's voice whispering through the years, telling me that truth and patience are allies in adversity. I answered Clara's calls gently, speaking as though nothing had changed, though every word felt like treading on fragile ice. Dad, she said softly, artificial softness threading her tone. Maybe we should talk about someone helping you manage things, just to keep you safe. Safe. The word felt like swallowing glass. Then an evening knock. I opened the door to find Liam, her son, 15 years old, his eyes red and swollen from crying. Grandpa, you can't go to Mom's. I need to show you something. Please don't tell them I was here. He handed me a recording. My heart sank before I even pressed play. Clara and Victor's voices filled the room, discussing me like I were an asset, a resource to exploit, how to prove my decline, which accounts to liquidate first, how fast to sell my house, the care facility already selected, the debts they would clear first. Then Clara said, her voice cold and deliberate, he'll adjust. Eventually, he won't even understand what's happening. Liam broke, tears streaming down his face. I didn't know what to do. I didn't want them to hurt you.
I'm sorry, Grandpa.
I held him as he cried, feeling the weight of his fear, his confusion, his loyalty.
No, he whispered.
You protected family. That is courage. The courtroom was silent when we arrived. Clara and Victor sat with feigned concern, their hands intertwined, faces carefully composed. Their lawyer spoke of responsibility, love, and concern. They wanted the judge to see them as saviors. Samuel's calm presence, his meticulous preparation, was our shield. Then we played the recording. Clara and Victor's voices echoed through the room, stripped of any pretense. The judge listened, eyes hard, jaw tight. Silence fell afterward, heavy and suffocating. Your petition was an attempt to exploit and dispossess this man for financial gain, the judge said. Then, decisively, petition dismissed with prejudice. Restraining order issued. Legal fees assigned to Clara and Victor. Case referred for criminal review. Clara sobbed openly. Dad, please. I didn't. I looked at her calmly. You already told me everything. I just finally heard you. Liam took my hand as we walked out together. For the first time in days, I felt a fragile lightness. Liam moved in soon after, not out of necessity, but out of moral clarity. We rebuilt Margaret's garden, tending roses she had once loved. We cooked dinners together, shared stories of life, and laughed where grief had previously sat. On a warm afternoon, as we planted a young rose together, he asked, "Do you think you'll ever forgive her?" I pressed soil around the stem, feeling the warmth of the sun on my hands. Forgiveness isn't letting someone back in. It's choosing not to let their cruelty shape who you become. He nodded, understanding more than his years suggested. Months later, Clara and Victor pled guilty. Their finances collapsed. Their reputations dissolved. Their marriage fractured under the weight of their own choices. It was done. Truly done. In the quiet house Margaret and I built, surrounded by roses and sunlight, a profound peace settled over me. Family is not blood. Family is loyalty. Family is truth. Family is love that does not sell itself. Clara thought she lost money, but she lost her father, her son, her integrity. Liam gained something priceless: strength, self-respect, a foundation of honesty. And I kept myself. If the story moved you, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Your support helps these stories reach others who need to hear them.